The stars stretched endlessly, black and cold, but the human ship Resolute pierced the void like a spear. Captain Ilara Miles stood on the bridge, her hands gripping the rail as the barren surface of Zytherian appeared on the viewscreen. This planet was known across the galaxy as a death trap, a world where storms could rip continents apart and gravity was almost twice that of Earth. Yet here they were. Humans, underestimated, feared by no one, facing the impossible. The crew murmured nervously. Zytherian had been avoided for centuries by the most advanced alien civilizations. Entire fleets had vanished here. Yet humanity had volunteered. They were not seeking conquest, they were explorers, scientists, and pioneers. But even as Ilara looked at the swirling violet storms and jagged mountains on the horizon, she knew survival here would demand more than courage. "Status report," she ordered. Lieutenant Kale, a wiry man with cybernetic enhancements, tapped the console. "Atmosphere is thin but breathable with filtration. Gravity is 1.9 g. Storms expected in 30 minutes. Terrain extremely unstable." Ilara nodded. "Good. Land in the northern valley. Minimal exposure." Outside the viewport, the Resolute descended through the dense clouds. Lightning tore across the sky like jagged ribbons of silver, and thunder shook the hull. The alien scouts who had secretly observed the mission from orbit would have laughed if they could. They had assumed the humans would die quickly, foolishly, spectacularly. But humans were adaptable. When the Resolute touched down, the ground trembled. The valley was littered with crystal formations that resonated with the planet's magnetic storms. Kale and the landing crew activated their exosuits, reinforced with adaptive hydraulics. With each step, the humans carefully analyzed the shifting terrain, their sensors calculating minute movements in the crystals beneath their boots. From orbit, the alien council watched. The Vkor, a towering insectoid species with 6 arms and bioluminescent eyes, whispered among themselves. "Humans are fragile," one said, clicking its mandibles. "They will perish under the storms. No mind could survive such chaos." Yet the humans smiled, not out of arrogance but understanding. They had survived worse, adapted faster, and invented tools no other species had conceived. Hours passed and the first storm hit. Lightning danced across the valley floor, hitting crystals that exploded with concussive force. The humans dropped to the ground, shields activated, boots gripping like claws. Their exosuits absorbed shocks and redirected energy. When the storm subsided, they rose unscathed. Their data packs already logged the storm's patterns, feeding it into an adaptive algorithm that calculated the safest paths for future traversal. Ilara glanced at her crew. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "Remember, survival is strategy. We observe, adapt, and strike where others would fail." At night, the alien scouts in orbit reported back to their High Commander, Kerouax. "Captain Miles' species demonstrates unusual resilience," Kerouax hissed. "They study death and learn from it. This is concerning." Meanwhile, humans set up their base using modular structures that unfolded automatically. The habitat absorbed the planet's magnetic energy, powering shields and life support. Every human on Zytherian moved with precision, combining ingenuity and intuition. Kale even rigged a storm harvesting generator, capturing the violent energy of lightning to power their equipment, a feat no alien engineer had attempted. By the third day, the humans had mapped a dangerous sector of the valley. Sensors had detected massive predators adapted to the extreme gravity, creatures with chitin armor as thick as steel. Humans observed from a distance. They did not fight rashly. They studied, learned, and then created strategies to avoid confrontation. Yet the aliens watching could not comprehend it. "They anticipate threats," one Vkor admitted, its voice a sharp rasp. "They do not merely react, they evolve. This is unnatural." One night, under the pale light of Zytherian's twin moons, Ilara spoke to her second-in-command, Commander Lyra. "We came here to survive," she said. "But surviving is not enough. We have to thrive. And when the galaxy sees what humans can do, even the deadliest planet will seem like a playground." And the humans did thrive. By the end of the first week, they had harvested crystal energy, mapped the valley in 3 dimensions, and built defensive drones powered entirely by local resources. Every failure was logged, analyzed, and transformed into advantage. Every storm became a lesson. Every predator encounter refined their strategy. Above them, the aliens began to whisper warnings to other species. "These humans, they are more than what we thought. They are cunning. They survive where no one else can. They adapt." The humans had no illusions of the battles ahead, of the galactic politics that would eventually demand their involvement. But here, on the deadliest planet in the galaxy, they had already demonstrated a trait no alien had fully understood. Human ingenuity was limitless and human resilience was terrifying. Ilara looked out at the horizon as another storm began to brew, violet lightning streaking across the jagged peaks. She smiled ready. Humans had landed on Zytherian, and the planet had no idea what had just arrived. The storms of Zytherian had become almost routine for the humans. Lightning cracked like whips across the jagged peaks, and crystal formations vibrated under the planet's magnetic pulses. But nothing could prepare them for what came next. A predator so massive, it dwarfed even the largest human exosuits. The alarm blared in the base as Kale's sensors detected a titanic movement on the northern ridge. Commander Lyra shouted orders, her voice calm but commanding. All teams, defensive positions. Activate drones and shields. Do not engage unless necessary. From a distance, a colossal creature emerged. It had 6 muscular legs, armored plates that reflected the storm's violet lightning, and a head like a living cannon. Its eyes glowed orange, scanning for movement. Most alien species would have abandoned the planet immediately. Most would have died trying. Humans? They adapted. Ilara stepped onto the observation deck. Lyra, what are its attack patterns? Lyra's fingers danced across her holographic interface. We've never seen anything move like this. But it's predictable in short bursts. I suggest. Prediction is not enough, Ilara interrupted. We will survive because we learn faster than it can act. The humans deployed their drones. Each one flew in coordinated swarms, mimicking the patterns of the crystal storms. Sensors transmitted live data back to the human's AI, which instantly adjusted drone formations. The creature lunged, crushing rocks beneath its feet, but the drones distracted it, pulling it toward the valley's unstable crystal cliffs. Now, Ilara whispered. Kale fired a magnetic pulse from a specially rigged launcher. It struck the cliffside, dislodging a massive crystal. The boulder crashed down, staggering the predator. But it was not dead. The humans had no illusions, they didn't aim to kill, only to survive. As the predator retreated, the humans marked its territory and calculated safe zones for their operations. Meanwhile, above the planet, alien scouts communicated with the Core High Council. They manipulated the environment, hissed KRX, its 6 eyes narrowing. No other species would survive such a creature. Humans, they are evolving faster than anticipated. Captain, Lyra said, tapping her screen, the predator was only a minor threat. There's a larger anomaly. Gravitational spikes detected near the southern rift. Something massive is moving beneath the surface. Ilara's jaw tightened. Zytherian was alive in ways no one had fully understood. The humans had expected challenges, but the planet itself seemed to resist their presence. And yet, humans were not just surviving, they were learning, adapting, and exploiting every threat for advantage. That night, under the twin moons, Ilara convened a council of her crew. We are not here to fight the planet, she said. We are here to understand it. To turn danger into opportunity. Every storm, every predator, every spike of gravity, it is data. And data is power. Lyra added, the aliens monitoring us, Core and others, underestimate us. But they will not for long. Ilara nodded. Then we make sure they remember. Days passed. The humans advanced into the southern rift, where gravity spikes bent the terrain and twisted their exosuits. The planet shifted beneath their feet. And yet humans thrived. They deployed seismic stabilizers, mapped gravitational currents, and even used the planet's energy to power temporary shields. Every movement was calculated, every failure analyzed, and every success expanded their knowledge base. And the galaxy watched. Through distant satellites and espionage drones, the alien empires began to take notice. The Core, the formidable Orith, and the cold, calculating Trilax all observed from afar. Reports flooded in. Humans survive storms that crumble cities, predators that devour armies, and planets that have killed every known species. They are apex predators of survival, said one Trilax ambassador to the council. Not physically, not technologically, but strategically. They exploit conditions no one else dares to approach. The humans did more than survive. They adapted Zytherian's hostile elements into tools. Crystal shards became energy conduits. Magnetic storms powered drones. Gravitational anomalies formed natural traps for predators. Every dangerous element of the planet became an extension of human ingenuity. One evening, as another storm raged, the humans were interrupted by a transmission from an unknown alien vessel. Its design was sleek and predatory, a weapon in orbit, HFY Admiral spoke through the translator, voice sharp and disdainful. Humans, it said, you trespass on Zytherian. You will not survive its dangers forever. Leave or perish. Elara smiled faintly. She activated the communication console. We are not leaving. Not because we defy you but because we understand what you do not. Adaptation is life and survival is intelligence. Watch closely. Humanity thrives where others die. The alien commander's eyes glowed with irritation. Your confidence will be your end. Perhaps, Elara replied, voice steady, or perhaps it will be the beginning of a lesson the galaxy will never forget. The storm outside intensified and the humans stood firm. For the first time, the aliens sensed that these fragile-looking beings were far from helpless. They were cunning, resilient, and fearless in the face of impossible odds. By the end of Part 2, humans had not only survived their first major threat, they had turned Zytherian's deadliest elements into advantages, proving to themselves and the watching galaxy that underestimation was a fatal mistake. And somewhere in orbit, alien eyes widened. The galaxy had yet to understand humanity, but it was about to learn. Zytherian was no longer a secret. Humans had survived storms that obliterated mountains, predators that shattered armored vehicles, and gravitational rifts that tore machinery apart. But survival alone was not enough. The galaxy was watching, and one species had decided to intervene directly. The alien vessel appeared in the violet sky over the northern valley, sleek and angular, dark as obsidian. Its weapons glinted in the stormlight, and the air trembled as it entered orbit. Elara and her crew watched through the Resolute's observation deck. Lyra leaned forward. They're not just observing anymore. This is an intrusion. Full-scale engagement likely. Elara's eyes narrowed. Then we engage, but on our terms. Humans were not warriors by birth, but by design. Every tool, every strategy, every contingency plan was a weapon in disguise. The ship's transmission crackled and a voice spoke in harsh, clicking tones. The HFY Admiral from the previous warning had arrived in person. Humans, you trespass. Surrender or be annihilated. Elara's fingers hovered over the console, her mind racing. Surrender is for those who cannot adapt. Humans, we create opportunities where others see death. She pressed a button, sending a calm, deliberate message back. We do not seek war, but we will not flee. Step carefully. You do not understand Zytherian, or us. The alien ship responded with a cold laugh. We will learn quickly enough. Within minutes, smaller strike craft launched from the alien vessel, descending toward the valley. Predators stirred in the storm, drawn by the ship's vibrations, but humans had anticipated this. Automated drones erupted from the habitat, moving in calculated swarms, guiding predators toward alien landing zones. Rocks fell, energy pulses fired, and within moments the alien craft were forced into defensive maneuvers. Elara spoke calmly into her communicator. Kale, execute the diversion. Lyra, activate the magnetic traps. Let's show them why humans survive Zytherian. The humans didn't just fight, they manipulated the environment. Crystal spires conducted energy into the ground, electrocuting approaching alien vehicles. Gravity spikes were redirected through stabilizers, tipping ships into cratered valleys. Predators moved strategically, guided by human devices, striking where the aliens had least expected. Above, the HFY Admiral gritted its mandibles. They are weaponizing the planet itself. Impossible. No species could do this. Elara watched the chaos with a calm, calculating eye. Every movement, every response from the aliens was logged and analyzed instantly. They expect brute force, she said. We'll give them precision instead. And then came the twist. The alien ship unleashed a high-frequency pulse meant to disable human equipment. The drones faltered, the exosuits struggled against electromagnetic interference, and the humans were momentarily exposed. Elara clenched her jaw. Use the crystal resonance, she commanded. Sensors calibrated to the planet's natural energy began to redirect the pulse, amplifying it and sending it back toward the alien fleet. Their shields faltered as the very planet turned into a weapon against them. One by one, alien strike craft spiraled out of control. They were forced to retreat, their arrogance shattered. Even the HFY Admiral had to acknowledge human ingenuity. They are more than we thought. They adapt at a rate we cannot predict. But the humans did not celebrate. Elara looked at the approaching storm. This was only the beginning. Zytherian is alive. And now, so is the galaxy's attention. The alien admiral, now retreating to orbit, issued a final warning. Humans, this is not over. You will regret defiance. Elara responded, voice steady and clear. Perhaps. Or perhaps the galaxy will finally learn the cost of underestimating humanity. After the engagement, the humans set about repairing their systems and analyzing the battle. Every alien tactic, every maneuver was catalogued. Every failure became a lesson. By sunrise, the humans had not only survived but improved their defenses, upgraded their drones and expanded their predictive algorithms. Lyra turned to Elara, exhausted but exhilarated. They'll be back. And next time they'll bring more forces. Elara's eyes sparkled. Let them come. Every encounter makes us stronger. Every threat sharpens our edge. Humanity doesn't just survive. We learn, we adapt, and we conquer, not by violence but by intelligence. The Vkor watched from orbit, a mixture of awe and fear in their gaze. No species should endure what humans have endured and emerge stronger, one whispered. They are apex predators of survival and strategy. As the storm clouds cleared, the humans stood on Zytherian's jagged peaks, looking out over the valley they now controlled. Crystal spires hummed with energy, drones patrolled the skies, and every predator was catalogued and tracked. Zytherian, the deadliest planet in the galaxy, had been tamed, not conquered but understood, and it had amplified human power. Elara's final words echoed through the command deck. The galaxy thinks it knows humans. It does not. Let them come. Every challenge only proves what we've always known: humanity survives and thrives where others fail. The first direct engagement with an alien power was over. Humans had emerged victorious, not because they were stronger but because they were smarter, faster, and more adaptable than any opponent. And somewhere across the stars, alien leaders began whispering warnings. The galaxy had been put on notice. The galaxy was changing. News of human survival on Zytherian had spread like wildfire, carried by whispers, mercenary scouts, and rogue traders. Alien empires that once dismissed humanity as weak or primitive now looked upon them with caution, some with fear. Far beyond Zytherian, in the darkened halls of the Galactic Council, species of unimaginable power gathered. Their chambers floated above the void, orbiting a dying sun, reflecting its dim light with opalescent walls. High lords, generals, and emissaries debated the humans' audacity. They survive storms that destroy planets, hissed Kerouex, the Vkor High Commander. Its mandibles clicked sharply, eyes narrowing. They manipulate the environment as though it obeys them. This is unnatural. The Orith emissary, a serpent-like diplomat whose scales shimmered with liquid silver, leaned forward. We underestimated them. Their homeworld, their fleets, even their technology, primitive by our standards. Yet on Zytherian they have outmaneuvered us all. A Trilax ambassador, cold and calculating, interjected. It is not strength, not numbers, not weaponry that makes them dangerous. It is intelligence, strategy, adaptation. They do not fight, they evolve, and every evolution is a step beyond our comprehension. The council murmured, some in fear, some in reluctant respect. Humans were being called an anomaly, a species that did not obey the traditional rules of survival and war. And so, a decision was made. A coalition would confront humanity, not with the goal of negotiation but to intimidate, suppress, and control them before their influence spread further. Meanwhile, on Zytherian, humans monitored distant transmissions and intercepted encrypted communications. Kale scanned the patterns. Multiple fleets are mobilizing, he reported. They underestimate the planet's hazards but the scale, it's massive. Elara studied the projections. Ships numbering in the thousands would arrive within months, each armed with weapons designed to crush worlds. She spoke to her council. They think overwhelming force will work. But they do not understand Zytherian, or us. We will turn this threat into opportunity. Lyra asked cautiously, how? They outnumber us by millions of soldiers. Elara smiled. Numbers mean nothing when you control the terrain, manipulate the elements, and anticipate every move. The galaxy fears humans not because of power alone, but because we think differently. The humans began preparations. Zytherian storms were now weaponized. Charged crystal spires could produce plasma arcs, gravitational anomalies were mapped as natural traps, and predators were guided with remote coordination. Drones swarmed in patterns designed to mislead and divide the approaching fleets, creating confusion long before direct conflict. Weeks later, the first scout fleet arrived. Thousands of alien ships descended, scanning the valley, confident in their superiority. From orbit, KRYX demanded compliance. Humans, it called through a deep frequency channel, you will surrender Zytherian or face obliteration. Alara's voice cut through the static. "We are not your subjects. You will learn this before the day ends." And the battle began, not in open space but across the jagged valleys of Cytherian. The aliens advanced but humans had prepared. Gravity traps pulled ships off balance. Crystal towers conducted electromagnetic pulses that disabled shields. Predators, directed by human drones, disrupted landing zones. The aliens adapted slowly, reacting to threats that had been anticipated hours, sometimes days in advance. Within the Council of Shadows, the Orith whispered to their peers. "No species has ever turned a planet into a weapon in this manner. This is genius." But humans did not rely on brute force alone. They leveraged deception and diplomacy. A captured core strike vessel was patched with human tech and used to broadcast messages to incoming fleets, sowing distrust and confusion among the coalition. Rumors of betrayal spread like wildfire. Fleets hesitated, some withdrawing to verify information, fracturing their unity. Alara watched it unfold. "Divide, mislead, survive," she murmured. "The galaxy underestimates us because it refuses to think like humans. Let them crumble in their assumptions." Even as the aliens regrouped, humans had gained a psychological edge. The combination of environmental mastery, adaptive technology, and unpredictable tactics left the coalition hesitant, second-guessing every command. For the first time in centuries, a species had made the supposedly dominant civilizations doubt their supremacy. In a rare moment of reflection, Kale spoke. "Captain, they thought Cytherian would break us. Instead, we've broken their certainty. They fear not just our weapons, they fear our minds." Alara nodded, eyes fixed on the stormlit horizon. "Humans survive because we see the world not as it is, but as it could be. Every threat is a problem to solve. Every disaster, an opportunity. And the galaxy will learn that lesson sooner or later." The Council, thousands of light years away, convened in secret emergency sessions. The word spreading was unanimous: humanity could no longer be ignored. A single species had turned the deadliest planet into a fortress, manipulated enemies into chaos, and survived assaults designed to annihilate civilizations. And so, a quiet but profound shift began. The galaxy's balance of power, established over millennia, was crumbling. Aliens would no longer treat humanity as weak. Diplomats and generals alike would have to recognize one undeniable truth: humans were cunning, adaptable, and terrifying in their resilience. On Cytherian, under violent storms, humans prepared for the battles yet to come. They were outnumbered, underestimated, and untested in full-scale galactic warfare, but they were human. And that meant they would survive, adapt, and ultimately astonish the galaxy. Alara's final words of the day echoed through the valley. "They think they understand power. They do not. Humanity does not fight like them, plan like them, or survive like them. Let the Council of Shadows watch. We are only beginning." And for the first time, the galaxy trembled, not at the size of human fleets, not at the force of human weapons, but at the limitless ingenuity of the human mind. The galaxy had come to a reckoning. Humanity, confined to a single outpost on Cytherian, had turned the deadliest planet into a fortress. Now, the coalition fleets that had once dismissed humans as weak had gathered in force, their numbers darkening the void like a swarm of predatory stars. Captain Alara Miles stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching the approaching armada. Thousands of alien ships, bristling with weapons, moved with deadly precision. The Vkor, Trilax, and Orith fleets had united, a rare and dangerous alliance. Their strategy was simple: annihilate humans before they could spread further into the galaxy. Lyra's voice cut through the tension. "They've learned from our last engagements. Their formations are tighter, weapons calibrated. If we engage head-on, we won't survive." Alara's eyes narrowed. "Then we don't fight head-on. Humans never do. Prepare the storm grid and crystal resonance arrays. Deploy gravitational traps to key vectors. Let them come. We will not merely defend, we will rewrite the battle." As the fleets descended into Cytherian's atmosphere, the planet seemed to awaken. Violet storms roared across the valleys, lightning crackling into towering crystal formations. Gravity rifts shifted unpredictably, turning the terrain into a living trap. And the humans moved with synchronized precision, exploiting every feature of their hostile world. The first wave of enemy fighters plunged into the valley. Drones swarmed like flocks of mechanical birds, guiding predators into ambushes and misdirecting enemy trajectories. Gravity spikes sent cruisers crashing into jagged cliffs. Crystal towers emitted plasma arcs, disabling shields and frying weapon systems. Ships designed to obliterate planets found themselves reduced to scrap within hours. Yet the humans did not stop there. Kale initiated a bold plan, hijacking enemy communications through modified strike craft. Humans broadcasted false orders, causing fleets to turn on each other mid-battle. Suspicion and chaos spread among the coalition, forcing commanders to hesitate, second-guess, and stall. In orbit, the Corps Admiral screamed through the translator. "Humans, you cannot win. Your numbers are insignificant." Ilara responded, calm and unyielding. "Numbers do not win battles. Strategy does. And you are trapped in our storm." The aliens attempted a concentrated bombardment, targeting the human base directly. But the humans had anticipated this. Shield harmonics, amplified by the planet's magnetic fields, deflected massive energy blasts. The very storms of Zytherian absorbed and redirected the attacks, turning alien weapons against their own fleets. Then came the shocking twist. Humans unleashed Project Apex, an unprecedented maneuver. Using harvested crystal energy and storm dynamics, they created a temporary but powerful gravitational vortex above the battlefield. Enemy ships, unprepared for such manipulation of natural forces, were flung into the planet's jagged terrain or collided with each other in catastrophic chain reactions. Entire squadrons were neutralized without a single human casualty. Lyra's voice trembled in awe. "Captain, they've underestimated everything. Every tactic we've used, every adaptation, they have no answer." Ilara nodded. "The galaxy will learn. Humans survive by thinking beyond what others imagine possible." On the bridge of an Orith flagship, the Admiral hissed in disbelief. "Impossible. Zytherian itself is against us. And yet, they control it. How?" Somewhere in the Trilax fleet, a commander whispered the same thought. "Humans are not merely a species. They are a force of nature. We cannot predict them and we cannot stop them, not yet." As the battle raged, humans simultaneously captured key enemy vessels. Rather than destroying them, they reverse-engineered controls in real time, turning once hostile ships into allies within hours. By nightfall, the coalition had lost cohesion, morale shattered, and fleets scattered. The so-called apex civilizations had been humbled, not by brute strength but by ingenuity, precision, and the unmatched adaptability of human minds. Ilara addressed her crew, weary but resolute. "This is what happens when the galaxy underestimates humans. We survive the impossible. We turn disaster into victory. And we do it without surrendering our principles. Remember this, crew, the galaxy is watching. And humanity will always rise to meet any challenge." The aftermath was unprecedented. Reports spread faster than light across the coalition empires. A handful of humans had faced thousands of ships and survived. Entire fleets had been neutralized or captured. Zytherian, the deadliest planet in the galaxy, was now the most fortified human outpost, a symbol of ingenuity, resilience, and apex capability. Back on Zytherian, under storm-swept skies, predators roamed in harmony with human drones, crystal towers hummed with absorbed energy, and the planet itself seemed to recognize its masters. The humans were not conquerors. They were survivors who had transformed the impossible into an advantage. And somewhere across the galaxy, alien leaders began to whisper. "Humans, they are not just a species. They are a lesson, a warning, and they will not be stopped." Ilara's final words, spoken to her crew as they surveyed the aftermath, captured the essence of humanity's triumph. The galaxy counts power in fleets, weapons, and numbers. But humans count in intelligence, adaptability, and resolve. Remember this: the deadliest world in the galaxy was our proving ground. The galaxy will never underestimate us again. Humanity had not only survived the Battle of Crimson Void, they had rewritten the rules of warfare, survival, and strategy. They had turned Zytherian into a fortress and a weapon, and more importantly, they had shown the galaxy the true scope of human potential. The Council of Shadows would meet again, but this time the conversation would be different. Fear had entered the calculus. Respect was forced. And for the first time humans were recognized as something the galaxy could not ignore. The Battle of Crimson Void had reshaped the galaxy. Entire fleets lay in ruin, and the coalition empires were shaken to their cores. For centuries, alien civilizations had defined power by numbers, technology, and domination. But humans had revealed a different metric: intelligence, adaptability, and unpredictability. On Zytherian, under violet storms that now seemed almost welcoming, Captain Ilara Miles stood before her command council. Satellites above relayed reports from dozens of captured enemy vessels. Holographic maps flickered with data, fleet movements, planetary resources, and political hotspots. Humans were not just surviving, they were plotting their next move. Lyra's voice broke the silence. Captain, the Council of Shadows is convening an emergency session. They've sent envoys, diplomats, even high-ranking generals, all seeking terms. They fear us. Ilara's lips curved in a small, confident smile. Good. Let them fear. Fear is information. Fear can be leveraged. And humans, we are excellent at leverage. Kale, monitoring interstellar communications, added, they think they control the negotiation. But their fleets are disorganized, morale shattered. They have no idea how prepared we are. Ilara tapped the display. Then we will set the terms, not them. The human envoy, led by Ilara and Lyra, boarded the first intercepted alien transport to rendezvous with the Council of Shadows. The alien representatives were numerous, the Vkor with their intimidating six-limbed statures, the cold Trilax and the calculating Orith. Their combined fleets could have crushed entire star systems. And yet, here they were, summoning humans to a council of negotiation. Kerouax, the Vkor High Commander, approached first. Mandibles clicking in irritation, it spat words into the translator. Humans, you have survived the impossible. You have outmaneuvered entire fleets. We do not understand how you persist. Ilara's tone was calm, deliberate. You do not need to understand. You need only to respect the outcome. Humans adapt. We learn. We survive. And now we decide how the galaxy is organized. A Trilax diplomat hissed, do you seek submission? Dominion over other species? Ilara shook her head slowly. Not submission. Balance. Efficiency. Opportunity. The galaxy is divided by outdated rules. Rules that reward size over ingenuity, power over planning. Humans will show a new way, one where adaptability, intelligence, and cooperation, not arrogance, define survival and influence. The aliens exchanged uneasy glances. For the first time in millennia, a species had challenged their hierarchical assumptions. One of the Orith generals spoke, voice measured but uneasy. And if we refuse? You have demonstrated you can destroy our fleets. Ilara leaned forward, her gaze unwavering. Then you will lose, not because humans are stronger but because we exploit the weaknesses you refuse to see. And weakness spreads faster than fear. Back on Zytherian, humans implemented their next stage. Using captured technology, they repaired and upgraded alien vessels, integrating adaptive AI with human tactical logic. A single ship, piloted by a human crew of 12, could now outmaneuver squadrons of enemy fighters. Strategic control nodes placed across the planet allowed humans to predict and manipulate enemy movements across light years. Meanwhile, the alien coalition convened to debate counter-strategies. Arguments raged for hours. Some urged total extermination, others warned that humans could not be predicted. KRYX, usually decisive, hesitated. We cannot risk direct engagement again. But neither can we trust them, yet diplomacy may buy time. Ilara seized the opportunity. She proposed a treaty, not of subservience but of integration. Humans would share technology, data, and Zytherian as a neutral research hub, in exchange for recognition of human autonomy and rights to expand into unclaimed systems. It was audacious. It was unprecedented. And it worked. The aliens, still shaken by the Battle of Crimson Void and by humans' superior strategic foresight, accepted, reluctantly, with conditions that humans subtly adjusted in their favor. By the time the negotiations concluded, humanity had established a foothold in interstellar politics far beyond its initial outpost. Even the skeptics began to admit the truth. A Trilax ambassador whispered to a colleague, they do not just survive, they force the galaxy to bend to their logic. We underestimated them at our peril. Ilara returned to Zytherian, watching the violet storms swirl. Kale and Lyra flanked her. We've done it, Kale said quietly. We've survived the deadliest planet, beaten superior fleets, and negotiated on our terms. Humanity is now recognized. Ilara nodded. Recognition is just the beginning. Respect, fear, influence, these are earned. And the galaxy will learn all three. Humanity survives not because we are the strongest, but because we think differently, act decisively, and never surrender to assumption. In orbit, alien commanders noted the efficiency of human strategies. For the first time, a species had turned catastrophic environmental hazards, overwhelming numbers, and political pressure into an advantage. No other civilization had ever achieved such a synthesis of intelligence, cunning, and adaptability. Lyra looked toward the horizon. What now, Captain? More expansion? More battles? Ilara smiled, eyes reflecting the violet storms. Now we consolidate. We teach the galaxy a lesson it will never forget. And then, we ensure humanity's place at the apex. Not through conquest alone, but through the undeniable proof that humans survive and thrive where others fail. Zytherian was no longer just a planet. It was a fortress, a laboratory, and a symbol. And humanity, once underestimated, had become the standard by which all others would be measured. As storms raged overhead, Ilara's final words echoed across the planet. The galaxy thought it could predict humans. It cannot. We are not just survivors. We are architects of our destiny, and the galaxy will bend to the reality of our intelligence. And in the shadowed halls of the Council of Shadows, alien leaders whispered fearfully, for one undeniable truth had been proven: humans could not be ignored. They could not be controlled. And they would never be underestimated again. Zytherian glowed under the violet storms, a beacon in the darkness of the galaxy. Humanity had survived the deadliest planet, turned its hazards into weapons, and reshaped the interstellar balance of power. But survival was no longer enough. The galaxy awaited the full measure of human ingenuity. Captain Ilara Miles stood on the observation deck of the Resolute, overlooking the sprawling valley where crystal spires hummed with energy and drones patrolled like sentinels. Reports poured in from every corner of the galaxy. Fleets were being recalled, coalition empires argued over policy, and the Council of Shadows struggled to maintain authority. Lyra, standing beside her, broke the silence. "Captain, the coalition fleets are moving again. They've regrouped and intend a decisive strike. Thousands of ships, combined forces of every major empire." Ilara's gaze was steady. "Then they'll see what we've been preparing. Humanity doesn't just survive impossible odds, we master them." Kale pointed to the holomap. "We've identified the coalition's likely approach vectors. With storm resonance, gravitational manipulation, and crystal amplification, we can predict every movement they make, before they make it." Ilara nodded. "Then let's turn prediction into annihilation. But not mindless destruction. Strategy, deception, precision." The coalition fleet descended upon Zytherian, confident that sheer numbers would overwhelm the humans. But the humans had transformed the planet into an apex defensive system. Crystal spires conducted controlled plasma storms, gravity wells funneled ships into lethal paths, drones directed predators with surgical accuracy. The valley itself became a weapon, alive, intelligent, and human-controlled. As the alien ships advanced, the first wave was swallowed by gravitational vortices, spun into jagged cliffs, or caught in lightning-charged crystal traps. Systems overloaded, shields collapsed, and formations disintegrated. Humanity was not merely defending, they were rewriting the rules of war in real time. Then came the human counterstrike. Using captured alien vessels integrated with human AI, fleets emerged from hidden corridors and gravitational channels. These small, agile forces struck with precision, disabling capital ships before they could respond. Entire squadrons surrendered without a fight, not from fear of death, but because resistance was impossible. From orbit, the Corps Admiral bellowed into the comms. This cannot be. How do they anticipate every maneuver? They control the battlefield itself." Ilara responded, calm and commanding. "We don't control it, we understand it. Humans survive because we learn faster than you can act. Every storm, every planet, every system, it is data. And we turn data into victory." The coalition panicked. Discord spread through the fleets. Some commanders questioned orders. Others defected after witnessing human ingenuity. Entire campaigns crumbled, not by overwhelming force, but by the precision, adaptability, and foresight of humans who had turned a deadly world into the ultimate weapon. Amid the chaos, Ilara activated the final phase, Project Apex Prime. Using storm-harvested energy, crystal resonance, and gravitational manipulation, humans created a planetary-scale energy network. Zytherian itself became a living amplifier, projecting energy pulses across the battlefield that disabled enemy systems light years away, neutralizing entire fleets in seconds. The aliens had no answer. Even their most advanced technology faltered against humans who had adapted beyond comprehension. Commanders realized the truth: humans were apex not through numbers or raw firepower, but through intelligence, adaptability, and the audacity to think beyond conventional limits. The coalition was shattered. Their fleets withdrew, battered and demoralized. Their empires would never recover the confidence they once had, for the humans had proven a fundamental truth: The galaxy could no longer dictate what humans could or could not achieve. In the aftermath, Ilara addressed the human crews. We came to Zytherian to survive. We faced storms, predators, and enemies who believed they were gods. And yet we endured, adapted, and triumphed. Remember this, humanity does not just survive danger, we convert it into strength. We do not just face the impossible, we master it. Lyra added, smiling, we've reshaped the galaxy's perception of humans. No longer will we be underestimated. No longer will anyone ignore what we can do. Even alien leaders acknowledged it. In the halls of the Council of Shadows, Kerouac spoke to the remaining delegates. Humans are not just a species. They are a force of nature. They survive where we die, adapt where we fail, and think beyond our comprehension. We must recognize them or face extinction. Ilara, standing atop a crystal ridge, gazed at the twin moons and storm-swept valleys. Humanity had done more than survive Zytherian. They had demonstrated the apex capabilities of their species. Intelligence, resilience, and audacity had triumphed over adversity, fear, and overwhelming odds. The humans had rewritten the rules of galactic power. Fleets, empires, and coalitions would adjust, but the precedent was clear. Humanity could not be ignored, could not be underestimated, and would not yield. Kale, observing the horizon, whispered, "We did it, Captain. The galaxy will never forget this." Ilara smiled, a mixture of pride and determination. "No, Kale. They will remember. And they will learn humans survive. Humans adapt. And humans are unstoppable." Under the violent storms of Zytherian, the humans of Earth had done the impossible. They had faced death itself and turned it into a weapon. They had survived the deadliest planet in the galaxy and emerged as masters not through brute force, but through mind, ingenuity, and courage. And across the stars, from distant empires to council halls, the message spread: humanity had arrived. The galaxy had underestimated them, at its peril. The storms raged, the crystals hummed, and humanity stood triumphant, resilient, cunning, and supreme. Zytherian was no longer a death trap. It was a proving ground, a fortress, and a symbol of everything humans could achieve. And as the twin moons rose over the jagged peaks, one truth was undeniable: the apex of the galaxy had been claimed, and its name was humanity.